I get discouraged for sure, and I will quit fighting at some point. And that point is when the first shovel of dirt hits the top of my box 6 feet down.
Hello and welcome to COS Indiana Live as we bring you Roundtable. The Roundtable segment is presented here every fourth Monday of the month at 7 p.m. We'll be focusing on education and discussion of the topics and challenges we all face as we use the Constitution to save the Constitution. Join us now as we bring you COS Indiana Roundtable with our MC, John Ackerman.
And welcome to COS Indiana Roundtable. I'm your host, John Ackerman. This is broadcast number 228 of COS Indiana Live, and our topic is Articles of Impeachment. What's that all about? Last month, Mark Levin gave a statement on his Fox News program about impeachment, and he proposed 4 articles of impeachment, which have inspired this edition of COS Indiana Roundtable. If you want to see Mark's statement, here's the link to it. And we're going to put that in the chat box so that you'll find it easy to copy and paste. You don't have to try to write it down. So, enough said about that. Let's bring the panel on right now. First is our virtual programming coordinator, Dale Parrish. Dale, unmute yourself and say hi.
Hi.
Good to see you.
Hey, John. Good to see you. Thank you.
All right. Let's see who else we've got tonight. Gary Harbaugh. Welcome back, Gary. Good to see you again.
Good to see you guys.
And Dale Tipton, our state director in Indiana. Dale, it's been a while since you've been with us, but it's good to have you back.
Well, glad to be back. Hi, everybody.
Okay. And Ken Kashuba, our state communications coordinator. Good evening, Ken.
Good evening, everybody.
And finally, Charlie from our Indiana team. Welcome back, Charlie.
What's going on, guys?
You've got the coolest background. I really like it.
I also heard it was beard night. I brought my beard.
Okay, we all did except
Everybody's
Dale
got
Parrish. One. Yeah, Dale needs to get a fake beard to wear or something. Ken, before we get into impeachment, talk to our viewers about that QR code up in the right-hand corner of their screen.
Sure, that little QR code way up there or right above John's head right now, that's our subscription QR code. So get your smart cameras out and take a scan of that, put your name and email address in, and we'll get you introduced to our subscription newsletter coming out here in February. And you will get all the upcoming programming information as well as a lot. We have a lot of things in store for that. So there's a lot coming down the pike. Subscribe today and share it with your friends as well.
So it's going to be important for people to subscribe, right?
Very much so. I mean, if you want to continue seeing programming like this and get good information out to your family and friends, subscribe.
That's the way to do it, and we make it easy. And that'll be there for the duration of the roundtable.
Correct.
Well then, gentlemen, impeachment. The first point that we need to make is that every president of the United States must take an oath of office. And the Constitution prescribes that the president speaks these words: I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. In the event that a president fails to live up to this oath, the Constitution provides one and only one remedy. It's called impeachment and removal from office. And we find that in Article 2 of the Constitution, Section 4, where it says, and here I quote, "The President, Vice President, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors." So Mark Levin, in that program that I talked about at the beginning, asked, what does it mean, high crimes? Well, he said that in English common law of the 17th and 18th centuries, with which the framers of the Constitution were intimately acquainted, high crimes were activities by those who have special duties which they acquired by taking an oath of office not shared by other people. In common language, that means that a high crime can only be committed by someone in a high position of authority by virtue of having taken a specially prescribed oath. And then on top of that, Article 2, Section 3, Clause 3.1 of the Constitution directs that the President take care that the laws be faithfully executed. Let that sink in for a moment. The President must take care, this is his job, take care that the laws be faithfully executed. Currently, the House of Representatives is focusing on Joe Biden and his family's financial dealings. And while that makes for interesting television viewing, Mark Levin proposes that it's the weakest area for the House of Representatives to look at. Levin proposes 4 articles of impeachment, and we're going to look at them right now. Article 1, Levin proposes, would be on immigration. Joe Biden has violated the immigration laws of the United States and needs to be held accountable for that. Now, I want to ask the panel, in your own research and in your own knowledge, how has Biden violated our immigration laws? Who wants to take first crack at that? I see Dale Parrish's hand.
Yeah, John, I think this is one of the most obvious to me, and you go back to that take care clause of that you mentioned, where it's the duty of the president to take care to faithfully execute the laws of our land, and what's happening at the border. Our current laws are not being executed, are not being implemented. People that cannot, that they can't vet at the border, they should be returned until such time as they can be vetted, not let in to be vetted at a later time. So I've heard it said many times that we wouldn't have this crisis at the border if they were just executing the current laws that are on the books. And I think this is just one of the most obvious violations of that take care clause that you mentioned.
Okay. He's not taking care that the immigration laws be enforced. Okay. Anybody care to go a little deeper into that one? Let's go with Gary Harbaugh, and then Charlie, and then the other Dale.
You know, I just say it's really a farce when people come across the border looking for a border agent so they can, be, cleared or whatever. They're given a date to appear for a hearing. That's often 5 to 10 years from when they're intercepted. And so, it's just a farce to suggest that the laws are being enforced and that the border is being controlled.
Okay. Thank you, Gary. Charlie, your thoughts?
So, yeah, Dale is obviously correct. The word obvious, it's one of a handful of responsibilities ascribed to the executive branch. It's not something up for debate. But what I find fascinating about that obvious quality is how it beautifully illustrates the way politics kind of paints people's thinking into a corner, how something basic and reasonable just gets thrown out because of political circumstance. Forever, for years, decades, everybody left, right, and center agreed border security is good. We all live in homes. There's a door. People knock. You see who it is before you open the door. Same old metaphor. But then Donald Trump says, I agree, but Donald Trump is bad. So then suddenly walls don't work. Borders should be open, blah, blah, blah. And then this makes some people feel really good, and then other people suffer. But the people who are over here feeling, too busy feeling good and open-minded, they don't see all the other people suffering over here. But I just frankly find it fascinating how that's even possible, how reason goes out the window for politics. It's amazing.
Okay. Dale Tipton, did you have a thought?
One of the most egregious things that I have seen, and everybody realizes that the average citizen realizes that the border's wide open. I mean, there's literally hundreds, thousands of people streaming across the border every day. And so you get a state like Texas that is impacted probably more fully than many other states, and they start doing what they can do to try to remedy the situation. And one of the things that just sticks in my mind is this video of people that work for Homeland Security cutting through concertina wire that is put up by the state of Texas to aid the illegals coming across at a given point where they're not supposed to come across, and so it's not just not enforcing the laws, but you are basically providing, a route that shouldn't be there. You're aiding in this in a way that is really quite consequential. And there's also information that's out there that affiliated U.S. organizations like the American Red Cross and other of these organizations that are contracting with the federal government are putting out leaflets in various countries, around the world, especially in South America, that shows people the routes to take, who to contact once they get here, what benefits that the government will pay them, and all these kind of things that just multiplies the problem.
Okay, Dale Parrish, did you have another comment?
Yeah, John, when this first started happening, when Biden took office and this first started happening, which it did immediately as he took office, I was in the school of thought that this was a political ploy to change Texas to a blue state, or to have more maybe a Democratic voters as time goes on. But it's become so severe that I'm really going into the school of thought that there's something going on here about our country, about destroying our country, and that this is all part of a plan to destroy America and what it has stood for. I think I don't know, it's hard for me to put it in words, but I think it's the purpose of this whole thing has gone beyond just votes. I think it's something worse than that.
Okay. Now, viewers, it's important for you to know that Dale Parrish is not a tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist. He's an intelligent, knowledgeable man.
Wow, really? Well, thanks, John.
Well, he hired me to do this program. But really, Dale's having really deep thoughts about what's really going on here. And to Dale Tipton's point, I don't know if you all saw the Supreme Court today ruled 5-4 that Homeland Security has the right to take down that concertina wire. And Justice Roberts and Justice Barrett joined with the three liberals in voting 5-4 to overrule Texas, so that that razor wire barrier is going to be coming down. And I think that's a blow for liberty and a blow for the rule of law. And sometimes the Supreme Court gets it wrong. They got it wrong in Plessy v. Ferguson. They got it wrong in the Drew Scott case. They got it wrong in Roe v. Wade. And maybe they're getting one wrong here. Gary, did I see your hand come up?
Yeah, I was just going to mention the fact that is not a final ruling yet.
Okay.
They just said that the Border Patrol can go ahead and take down that concertina wire for the time being while the case is on appeal.
Okay.
We can hope that maybe the final decision will come out more favorable. I don't know, but the justices of the Supreme Court are certainly known to pay attention to the news, and I have to think and pray that they will see what's happening in our border and side with the state of Texas on this in the final analysis.
Okay. Dale Tipton?
One other thought, just to follow up on Dale Parrish's comments. If you read some of the latest thinking that comes from people at the World Economic Forum and the United Nations, there has been a big push for probably a decade for an open border society around the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not real sure what they're going for there exactly, but the whole process of doing that basically lessens the sovereignty of any nation that participates in that policy. And so I think the effect on the United States is exactly what Dale's pointing out, that it limits who we are and what we have been, and it really transforms us, or starts to transform us, into something completely different that our founders certainly wouldn't recognize.
Well, it's the globalist agenda, one world order, do away with nations, do away with borders. Yeah, it's kind of a scary thing. Charlie?
Actually, on that note, Mark Meckler has mentioned how that's his next book is, I believe it's called The Great Decoupling, I think is the title, at least for now, about that, basically, how the answer to that, how, we're raised on sci-fi movies, futuristic movies where, one world government. You're raised on that as a kid. You think, what a great idea. But then the older you get, you realize, well, no, we kind of need these separate, nobody wants to go to Italy because it's just more land. They want to go see Italian culture. They don't want to just go visit someplace to see where they come from. They want to experience something different. Well, you don't have that under one world where everything's the same. You start to realize that New World Order type of stuff. Oh no, is that shadow ban type of stuff? That's 666. Metaphorically speaking. So anyway, getting back to Meckler's book, the book is essentially about how we need a convention of states to kind of push back the federal government from continuing to consolidate power to where we're getting away from why federalism was instituted in the first place, because every state needs to be different. Go to Colorado if you want to have mountains and marijuana, and then, come to Indiana if you want to, where it doesn't smell like weed everywhere you go and it's clean, and we can live the way we want to live and they can live the way they want to live.
Yep. That's part of what made the country great. We have 50 different states. We used to be sovereign states. I don't know if that word applies anymore. Well, viewers may have noticed that Ken hasn't had anything to say, and there's a reason for that. If you're new to this and watching live on Facebook or YouTube, you can ask a question or make a comment, right now in the comment box, and Ken is monitoring those. And I want to turn to him right now and ask Ken, do we have any comments or questions on suggested impeachment Article 1 on immigration?
We have one comment. I'll go ahead and post the one comment we have. It's from David, who's talking about that being evil. He sees that ruling as bad behavior, and they should be removed from office. It's like nobody should have doors, windows, walls, or fences. Are they ridiculous? What holds up their roof? So he's
good one, David.
Certainly bringing in the analogy of a house and how you would operate your house. And I would just add, being that there have been no other comments, I find it really odd that our administration actually put out an app which allowed people to just come in with an app and then have that app readily hacked by the worst people on our border, and it just, I don't know, that's something that to me is blatantly impeachable.
Okay. Well, Gary, another comment?
Yeah, one more comment about, going back to what Dale had said about, damaging our society. George Soros for years has said that the United States is the biggest obstacle there is to creating a one world government. I can assure you, if there are open borders everywhere, there are not going to be millions and millions of people going to Libya. They're going to want to come to the United States, and really it destroys America because you can't have a welfare state and have open borders. And we have a significant amount of a welfare state, and you're just going to get millions and millions of people coming here, which is just what we're seeing. And it really will destroy our country. And there's just, you just can't continue like this.
Soros said that, huh? That's the first thing that he's ever said that I agree with. The United States is the only thing standing in the way of one world order. I agree with him, except I'm on the other side of the equation. Dale Tipton?
One other comment, it doesn't really fit with some of the individual things, but overall, I think it is important. I think impeachment definitely should be considered, and I think Levin is right on target. But I'm just sitting here wondering the prior impeachments of President Trump, because of the way that they were done and kind of hurried through and whatever, does this diminish the impeachment process and what the average American would look at it as what it's supposed to be?
Good point. And in my judgment, I think there's a good chance that you're right about that. We'll just have to hope that the House does it properly, does it well. And if they vote on articles of impeachment, that they include something more than just Hunter Biden's financial dealings, some substantive things like violation of the oath of office, failure to take care that the laws be faithfully executed. Dale Parrish.
Just a thought that popped in my mind, when we do hold a convention of states, does dealing with impeachment, does that have something to do with government overreach, perhaps? That part of our resolution? Might there be something, an amendment that needs to be proposed to perhaps tighten up this process of impeachment? I don't have an answer to that, but might be something to consider as part of a convention of states. Okay,
well, you call up Mark Meckler and suggest that to him, okay? Because he's our national president.
I'll do that, John. Thank you.
Yeah, put him on speed dial, okay?
All right.
And I say that jokingly because I have no idea how to contact Mark Meckler. Okay, let's move on to Mark Levin's suggested article of impeachment number 2, and it has to do with federal finances. Now, the Constitution is very clear that Congress controls federal expenditures. And we're proposing here tonight that Joe Biden is usurping Congress's power of the purse. And so the question I want to throw out here on the table for the panel to discuss is, how is Biden usurping Congress's power of the purse? Who wants to take Dale Parrish again first? All right.
Well, the glaring example now, I think, is the student loan forgiveness, and it. Correct me if I'm wrong here, guys, but I think the Supreme Court has already ruled that he doesn't have the power and authority to do this, but he's doing it anyway. And he just now recently, according to a report that I saw today, canceled something like 136 billion, or maybe that's in total to date, 136 billion for more than 3.7 million people. I just find that so unfair to the majority of people in this country that didn't go to college, but are paying taxes because the taxpayer is paying for this. There's no forgiveness here. There's no the debt doesn't go away. It shifts from one party to the taxpayers. Basically, is what it's doing.
Yep.
So it's just so unfair, but he's doing it anyway. And I think that's another violation of the take care clause.
Okay, Charlie, I saw your hand.
So yeah, it's not forgiveness, as Dale said. It's evasion. It's like dodging a bullet, and it just hits the guy behind you. What I'm curious about is if the Supreme Court shoots it down. Can anybody here explain exactly how you just do it anyway? What does he go talk to the banks and threaten them? And then I guess the case would be then wouldn't the banks just go, you can't do that? So is there something, does this benefit these, I can only say the banks, whoever's giving out these loans, does it benefit them where they go, oh, how convenient that you're just doing it anyway? Otherwise they wouldn't do it, correct?
Well, Gary has a thought.
Well, first of all, the government federalized all student loans, so you don't go to the banks anymore. So they got the private sector out of that segment and made it all federal. And then all Biden did is he had initially had an extremely broad loan forgiveness. He just narrowed it a bit. And, the court said I can't, forgive all of these people. So I'm just going to do, like 2/3 of them or whatever number it is. So he's not technically violating exactly what the court said. He's just, dodging around, evading their intent to say that he couldn't do it, to say, well, I'll just do it in a little different way.
These are called workarounds. Dale Tipton.
Well, you also can't forget the power of the administrative state, because there are a number of different organizations that he can go to, whether it's the Department of Education or whatever, and have them come up with some kind of a loophole that allows, something like that to happen. So basically it's not him doing it, it's somebody else doing it, but it's under his authorization, is my view. But another question that I had in another area is I keep hearing speeches with presidents, and not just him, but where they stand up and they say, I hereby authorize, say, $500 million to support the war effort in Ukraine. So what does that exactly mean? Does that mean that this money is going to them like kind of automatically? Or am I telling Congress that they should really consider this? It seems like the money's kind of being spent before anybody approves it.
It seems that way, and I don't know an answer to that. Does anybody? That's just one of those questions that's probably hanging out there in the ether, waiting for somebody to challenge it. Ken, you got anything from viewers?
Not at this time, John. They're I think all
man.
contemplating the same thing.
I'll tell you what, if I were a viewer, I'd be typing in a comment something like, I got federally guaranteed student loans when I went through college and I paid them back. And it's offensive to me that my tax dollars are being used to cancel or forgive or in a roundabout way pay off loans for physicians and for PhDs and people who are making more money than I ever made. And they don't have to pay for their college, where I had to pay for my college 60 years ago. Yeah, I'm kind of offended at that.
I might ask those same people, John, that are in school and have those loans, and ask them how they feel when the professor turns around and says, "Well, Johnny over here, he doesn't sleep well at night, and so we're going to change his D to an A plus, and your grade's going to have to go to a B so he can go to an A plus." How do you feel about that?
Yeah. You know that calls up images of equity, and we had a roundtable a few months back about DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and that equity thing. That's what I think that's the philosophical force behind this whole thing. Let's treat these people with equity. Let's make sure they don't have to pay for that expensive college degree. Charlie, did I see your hand come up?
Yeah, I just have a really bad pun for you guys on that note. Land of the free, more like land of the free of charge. Yeah. Wah, wah.
Yeah, well, it's a chuckle, but it's also
Depressing.
kind of painful and depressing, isn't it? Okay, Dale Parrish.
Yeah, I think it's just so unfair, and that's what really gets to me. It's just so unfair to the people that have paid their student loans off. I had student loans, and I paid them off. And the people that have paid them off and that are still paying them off, it's just so unfair. My son and his wife both have student loans, and that they're still paying off, and they're both in their 50s, early 50s, and will continue to be paying them off for some time.
Yeah.
They racked up some big student loans in getting their degrees in education and so forth, but they're also making a good income too. But it's just so unfair, and I think it really comes down to buying votes is what it is. It's just buying votes.
Could be.
So.
Charlie, another thought?
Is shamelessly buying votes for sure, and just short-sighted overall. That's why it's just so unfair, because it's, oh, you just happen to be a student right now or happen to have debt right now. What about, John, to your point, what about everybody who's already paid it off, so on and so forth? But to rope COS back into this, where exactly a convention of states could intervene here, would this go right along with, of the three proposed amendments, for this first convention, would be federal jurisdiction? This seems like that would obviously be where the solution lies, correct?
Get the federal government completely out of the student loan business, because
they don't belong.
There's no authority in the Constitution for them to be in the student loan business.
Good point.
Or the education business or the banking business.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah.
Couldn't this be part of the fiscal restraints?
Sure.
Part of our resolution?
Sure.
So that's two then, right? That's two different ways of attacking this, very unfair setup.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good point. Well, gentlemen, we're about halfway through.
Yep.
What do you say we take a little break and show a video? We have a Convention of States Indiana Surge Day coming up at the state capitol on February the 7th, just a couple of weeks from now. And we want to show everybody a video about COS Surge Day in Indianapolis.
Okay, Ken, I've got this loaded. You want me to go ahead and run it?
Go ahead and fire it up, Dale.
All right.
Found our way. It's a brand new day, and we'll be making history. Are you with me? Won't you stay? We have come so far. This is who we are, and like the rising sun, we have just begun to play our part. This is the time we form the chorus. Lift your voice for those before us. We can rely on one another. Feel the pride, let's show our colors. We are heroes and dreamers. We are restless believers, stronger than ever. Never say never. Don't look back now. Don't look back now. Stand with each other. We are sisters and brothers, finding our place and running the race. We'll take our chance and seize the moment. Hold on tight and fate. Destiny awaits. We are all the actors in the stories we create. Hope will be our guide. We'll no longer hide. When we roll like thunder, feel the wonder from inside. This is the time we form the chorus. Left your voice for those before us. We can rely on one another. Feel the pride, let's show our colors. We are heroes and dreamers. We are restless believers, stronger than ever. Never say never. Don't look back now. Don't look back now. Rise up, stand with each other. We are sisters and brothers, finding our place and running the race. We'll take our chance and seize the moment. Hold on tight and don't let go of all your hopes and dreams that light the way.
And there you have it. We've had some real good surge days in recent years. And the next one is coming up on February the 7th in the state capitol. And Dale, you want to say something about it?
Yeah, I just hope Gary doesn't wear that tie again. That's all. I'm just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay, Gary.
I wasn't going to, but now I might.
Yeah, Dale laid down the gauntlet. Okay. Well, if you can make it. Anybody know what time we want our supporters to show up? Is it 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, we're running from 9 to 3.
Okay.
So they're welcome anytime.
Anytime.
Most of the speaking is going to begin at 11:30 this year instead of early.
Okay, that's important to know. So anytime between 9 and 3:30, but we'll have some speaking starting at 11:30. Okay. And are you buying lunch for us, Dale?
Yeah.
Just kidding. Okay.
Yeah.
If you can make it.
Yeah.
If you can make it, it's going to be a good time. Okay. Very good. Well, let's move on to Mark Levin's proposed article number 3, and that has to do with commander-in-chief. As you know, the Constitution specifically says that the president is the commander-in-chief of the U.S. military. And we're looking at the reality that our current president is undermining the United States military. So I want to ask the panel to comment on that. How is Biden undermining the United States military? Dale Parrish, you always go first, man. It's like you've been studying on this stuff. Okay.
Well, I've watched Mark Levin's video a number of times, and there are a number of ways our military is being undermined. But I think the main thing Mark was trying to point out, and it is true, that the actions of this administration have emboldened our enemies, countries that are outwardly against us and enemies of the United States. His administration has enabled funds to flow to these countries so these countries could use those funds in order to attack us and to work against the United States. And I guess, Iran would of course be the prime one, I think, not to mention China and as well as some others. But I think what our administration has done with Iran and providing purchasing oil now and releasing the controls that we had on them, I think is perfect example of undermining our United States military.
Good point, Charlie.
So yeah, that's all obviously true. Levin specifically brought up Iran a couple times. For me, though, it's harder with I'm a very visual person, state videographer and all that. When people talk about money's going to Iran or pallets of cash, whatever, it sounds like Jack Ryan stuff, House of Cards type of stuff. It's clandestine, it's unseen, but for me, I focus on Afghanistan. That was something that was in your face. There's, video after video after video. I mean, glued to Twitter for the entire duration of that mess. And for me, that's something that can never be forgiven or forgotten. That's something that, again, but just the visual nature of it is something that I wish people talked about more, because that was, that was dark. That was just, you talk about commander in chief. I mean, there's no greater failure than just abandoning everybody there, so that's kind of where Iran's one thing, but I focus more on the Afghanistan debacle.
Sure. And leaving Bagram Air Base in the middle of the night without notifying anybody, and leaving all that military equipment there for terrorists to pick up and use at will.
And the dogs, remember the dogs? Oh, God, they just left dogs in kennels. Provided that's true. I never looked into that being factual or not, but I remember the images of just, here's a bunch of dogs that they just leave behind in kennels.
I guess I missed that, or I've forgotten about it.
Could be propaganda, but the point is that it was a mess. It was awful. It was terrible. So
yeah, everybody agrees to that. It was a mess. Yeah. The pullout from Afghanistan surely undermined the military. And look at recruitment now. All branches of the military are under their recruitment goals. I mean, who wants to serve in this military? Dale Tipton, you have a thought?
Well, another thought I had was, of course, back in October, we had this Hamas attack on Israel. And the whole area of Gaza is governed by Hamas. Hamas is not just a military group. They're the government there. I mean, most of the elected officials are Hamas people, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. Yet the United States government gives millions of dollars in financial aid to Gaza, which is essentially going to Hamas, that is used to build the tunnels, to hide the ammunition, to promote the attacks, and all those kind of things. And I mean, you would think that anybody could see that, yet it continues to happen. And so whether it's an attack that's enabled against one of our direct allies or against the U.S. servicemen in the region, it's kind of all the same thing to me, and it's makes no sense.
Okay. Gary?
To me, this seems a lot more like treason than just, violating or not properly, being commander in chief. But he's literally giving aid and comfort to our enemies, giving millions of dollars to Iran that is, funding the Houthis, funding the Hamas, funding Hezbollah, that are, attacking U.S. troops, U.S. ships, things like that. I mean, that's just, to me, if Congress really, the first time something like that happened, which really was probably the Afghanistan pullout, they should have filed impeachment charges immediately and, made this a public issue with the American people. But, everybody just kind of goes along and, bad decision. Well, it was much more than a bad decision.
Right. And Charlie?
Excuse me while I fact check myself, fellas, regarding those dogs. Factcheck.org says the Department of Defense maintains that none of its military service dogs were left behind in Afghanistan. Some animal welfare groups say contract working dogs may have been left at the airport or something. But just to cover that off, don't want to spread misinformation. Doesn't change the fact that Afghanistan is awful. Anyway.
Okay. Interesting point. Thanks, Charlie. Yeah, and there are a lot of people who think that the disgraceful pullout from Afghanistan emboldened Putin just a few months later to go into Ukraine. And that's just a terrible situation there. We have no idea how bad that is. Only
Yeah,
the
that's
people who
certainly
are
no
living through
coincidence.
it. Yeah, Dale, Parrish.
Well, I think also when we talk about undermining our military, I think we also need to look within and see what's happening in our military academies, what's being taught, what is DEI and the infiltration of Marxism and a lot of the Marxist concepts that are being taught in our military. Uh, it's all an effort, I think, at tearing down what our military has been for centuries, for decades and
Yeah,
centuries,
yeah,
and the purpose of our military and tearing it down. I saw.
yeah.
So I believe that is another avenue of undermining our military.
Good point. Good point. And making cadets in the military institutions sit through lessons on pronouns.
Right.
What does that have to do with military strategy? Dale Tipton.
Another thought. I don't know what the exact number is, but whenever you look at the military aid that's been provided to Ukraine and to Israel and to probably other people around the world, when does it get to the point that our own military couldn't sustain itself with the proper supplies and things if in fact we had to react to something that was significant, here at home?
Yeah.
What kind of a surplus is there really if you're giving that much stuff away? It just kind of makes you wonder.
Yeah, and I don't wear a tinfoil hat either, but I kind of wonder why China hasn't already moved on Taiwan, because we're not in a position to do anything about that. So, kind of wonder.
Yeah.
Okay, Ken, anything from the interwebs?
Nothing but some agreement and some questions that we've already answered, basically about the funding that's being sent out directly being used against us.
Okay, well, the clock is moving, so let's move on to the proposal number 4, Article of Impeachment, and it has to do with profiting from his son's financial dealings. And as if you follow the news at all, you know that Hunter Biden has made millions of dollars from China, Ukraine, Russia, and other countries. So my question for the panel is this: how has Biden and his family profited from his son's international dealings?
Go ahead, Dale Parrish.
Somebody besides Dale Parrish. Let someone else go first. Dale Tipton.
The thought just kind of came to me, and you guys have all seen this clip where Joe is a representative to Ukraine about the time that his son is appointed to the board of that gas company Burisma, where he was getting paid like 50 grand a month or something like that. It was a huge salary. He had no experience or anything in the background, but the company was being investigated by a prosecutor there in Ukraine. And Biden famously sits during that televised interview and said that he wanted that prosecutor fired because he believed he was incompetent or whatever the reason was, or he was, corrupt, and withheld or threatened to withhold American aid to Ukraine unless that guy was fired. And within a short period of time, so goes the story that he actually was.
Yeah.
But I mean, how much more of a direct link can you get to Biden family finances than you do with that episode?
There you go, Charlie.
That's an actual quid pro quo. Remember when all of a sudden, everybody knew what quid pro quo meant because they thought Trump did it, but then meanwhile it was Biden that was actually engaging in that. This kind of goes back to what Dale Parrish was saying at Article 1. Like, what if everything about immigration isn't just buying votes? What if there's something more nefarious going on, trying to more than just buying votes, but importing, our own destruction. And if you have a president beholden to a foreign government, if it is truly the CCP who's kind of pulling the strings, then just look at what's happening with TikTok, where their algorithms promote, STEM, exploration of space and building rockets and just all these magnificent things to their own people in China. And then the algorithm in America just promotes psychological and mental poison, that is just degrading everything slowly, this nightmare of a next generation. So if they can do that with an app, what about when they have the commander in chief under their control because of, whatever backroom deals, financing and all that? What can they then have him promote that is just as poisonous?
Good question. Good question. Anybody else have a comment on Biden's business dealings? Dale Tipton.
I just wanted to add that just this past week, it was reported on one of the national, I guess, news programs that the Chinese contributions to the Penn Biden Center at the college there had tripled over the last year.
Wow.
Not that means anything, but it sure seems interesting.
I'm just thinking this has nothing to do with impeachment, but I'm thinking it should not be allowed that U.S. colleges receive donations from countries like communist China. That should not be allowed.
Well, they're all communists at those schools, so it's kind of fitting.
We chuckle because there's some truth in what you say, Charlie. Okay, Gary?
Yeah, I'd like to go back to the topic of impeachment that we kind of started with.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things is we all look at impeachment as some sort of a legal proceeding, but we look at what happened with Bill Clinton. The guy obviously was guilty of the things he was charged with, and yet he was not convicted. We look at Donald Trump. Donald Trump made a phone call, and boy, they just said, oh man, this was terrible. The guy committed a crime, and there really was nothing. And fundamentally, impeachment is not a legal proceeding. It is a political proceeding.
That's right.
It depends on politics. And I think the Republicans are reluctant to bring this. They shouldn't be, but I think they're reluctant because they know that the Senate is never going to vote, Biden out of there. And a lot of Republicans don't really want him out of there because that would put Kamala in the big chair, and she's hadn't grown up enough yet for that. So it's really a political proceeding. We look at it from the legal aspect, like, wrong has been done. This should be made right. But it's really, we don't have the political will right now to get Joe Biden out of office. And that's just because there's too many people have been brainwashed into believing, Lunch Bucket Joe's really a good guy. He might have made mistakes, but, he's a good guy. Well, obviously that's not true, but a lot of people believe that.
Yep. And, I've kind of debated in my own mind about this. The impeachment is a current topic. It's a hot topic, and it's going to get hotter. But to what end? Because the Senate will not convict. I mean, we know that. It would take 60 votes. And no president has ever been removed from office by impeachment and conviction. And so in one sense, we're just spinning our wheels, but in another sense, we're standing up for what is right and what is honorable. And just politically speaking, I said back when Trump got impeached, not once but twice, I said, Biden's going to get impeached, and maybe twice, because it's tit for tat in the political world. You impeach our guy, we'll impeach your guy. But it's political theater, but there's a lot of truth that the public needs to know about, especially in an election year. They need facts before they decide who to vote for in November. Ken, you got something from the viewers?
Kind of a question regarding when we talk about impeachment, and we talk obviously about the amount of people in this administration that are being looked at. The question came up as to how many people can actually be impeached. No, the question is, can we do the whole administration? Which obviously is a big reach.
That's called vote the bum out.
That's called, it's called a complete wipeout. But I guess the question is, how many people do we actually do you actually go after in this administration? And obviously there's a number of them that really should be impeached. But just thought I'd throw that up there in case anybody else is wondering.
That's a good question. Thank you, David.
Good question.
I don't know who David Todd is, but I like his thinking.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
David's a regular viewer and one of our volunteers. But
very good. Okay, maybe the last comment coming here, Dale Parrish.
Yeah, real quickly. I think this. I hope everyone has enjoyed our discussion this evening, and what it has shown to me, at least, is that I think the first three articles that Mark Levin mentioned here. Really, those are the articles that are best for impeachment. The fourth article, I don't think quite raises to the level of the first three.
Right.
But my final word is he's not going to be impeached. This is going to be used strictly as political fodder for the election, and I don't think we'll see an impeachment come out of this at all.
And that may be a true prophecy. I have 3 words of wisdom for you, Dale. Time will tell.
Time will tell. Yeah.
Time will tell. It always does. 3 more words. Truth will out. Okay? Truth will out.
All right. Good job.
Well, friends, this brings us to the end of this month's roundtable. Before we close it out, I want to give you our email address. Between now and next time, if you have any questions at all about Convention of States, you can email them to us at that address on the bottom of your screen. Raise Your Voice, COS, at gmail.com. That's Raise Your Voice, COS, at gmail.com. I want to invite you to tune in next Monday, January 29th at 7 p.m. Eastern, for our next COS Indiana Live, which will feature some of our COS social media warriors. It sounds like a fun time. And the next roundtable will be on the 4th Monday of February. That will be February the 26th at 7 p.m. And to close us out, here's a message from our National COS President, Mark Meckler, and it's called The Day I'll Quit Fighting.
I struggle to empathize with people who would give up. It doesn't make sense to me. Sam Adams said, for those of you who prefer safety and security over liberty, over the animating fight for liberty, I hope that you enjoy licking the hands that feed you. May your chains rest lightly upon you, and may posterity forget that you are our countrymen. Like, do you understand that your kids and you are sentencing your kids and your grandkids and your friends' kids and your neighbors' kids to a lifetime of slavery and servitude, literally, of fear, of living in the darkness? But never, ever, never, never, never give up. George Washington lost the majority of his battles that he fought in the American Revolution. If you read his writings, if you read the letters where he was writing to Congress asking for money and troops, he was saying, we're losing. I don't have the troops I need. I don't have the supplies I need. Did he quit? What about the guys on the beach at Normandy? Like, what did they do? Did they just quit? Oh, there's, a lot of guys are dying around me. It's really bad. It looks really dismal. Those cliffs are huge. Machine gun fire raining down on us. And it's too hard. We should just quit. Thank God those people didn't quit. If they had, where would we be? I get discouraged, for sure. And I will quit fighting at some point. And that point is when the first shovel of dirt hits the top of my box 6 feet down.